watching this episode of The Patch on YouTube. Just a reminder that if you miss it when it's gone, you can always visit roosterteeth.com. The Patch is available there. Also, we have a post show available exclusively to Rooster Teeth First members, and that membership will also let you live stream all of our different podcasts. You get access to a bunch of content that nobody else does. And if you want a 30-day free trial to check that out, see what it's all about, you can get the details down below. Save it for when the podcast starts. Oh shit!
I flipped it.
Podcast. You did good.
There we go.
You did good.
That's
That's
this
the
one.
last flip.
By the way, is that going to be everything we do and say in this episode?
the last
last
time
mic
I did
adjustment.
that. Well, no, there'll probably be a lot more of those. Maybe last time I messed with this thing. There we go.
Yeah, so welcome to the last episode of The Patch. I'm Ashley.
Very last patch. Bernie.
Ryan. Hello.
You guys say the last patch.
Last patch. Last time I introduced myself on this iteration of the patch.
This is the last time I mentioned it's my last introduction on the patch.
Will it though?
I probably
You can work in another one, I bet.
I'm already ready to drop this joke.
This is I feel like this is a very suitable topic for the last episode of The Patch because I kind of feel like burning some fucking bridges.
Oh.
Because the Assassin's Creed movie.
Oh.
Reviews for this movie came out and were scathing across the board.
To say the least.
Like the only one that was even remotely positive was Polygon, and they were like, well, he does some parkour, so I guess that's cool.
I didn't die watching it.
They were like, we really wanted this to work. So they gave it a break.
That's probably the right approach. Also, they're probably like, hey, we really remember Gamergate, and we don't want you guys yelling at us because we didn't like something video game related.
I don't think that's how Polygon rolls because they're very much on that train.
No, I'm just saying they're probably they knew that. I mean, that's their target audience. If they don't try to give it a shot that someone else is not going to give, like a New York, Daily News or Variety or something like that. Polygon's got a kind of an obligation to try to make it work. I went into this movie thinking the same thing. I'm going to get this video game movie on a different level than other people that watch it because I've played Assassin's Creed. I played many iterations of Assassin's Creed.
Right.
You're very familiar with the story.
I played all 3 Assassin's Creeds too. But yeah.
I'm gonna pull up this just the summary. You get those when you look at Rotten Tomatoes, which is another thing, by the way, is the number of people who think that Rotten Tomatoes is a review site that does its own reviews. It's not. It's an aggregate score. A lot of people are like, yeah, but Rotten Tomatoes is biased against Warner Brothers. I'm like, you realize they're partially owned by them, right? It would go the other way, if anything.
Well, come on. Rotten Tomatoes gave them a score, right? Look, it's on their website. That's how that goes.
I think when we walked into the theater to see Assassin's Creed, starring Michael Fassbender, it was at, I think, 17%.
Now, before we get too crazy about this,
we knew what we were
before we get super, super salty, we should thank our last ever sponsor for the patch.
Thank you to our sponsor, Blue Apron. It's never too salty.
They have exactly the right amount of salt. Us, too salty. Blue Apron, right amount of salt. So here's Rotten Tomatoes looking up.
And it's entirely possible, actually I talked about this beforehand, that we might spoil some of the things in Assassin's Creed by talking about it.
We will consider ourselves as saving you.
It sounds like it did its own work, spoiling itself.
It is 18% on the tomatometer.
Hey, it went up a little bit.
What is it at?
18%.
18%.
So you guys really weighed in and took it up a notch.
Out of 82 total reviews. Here are some of the excerpts that would give you some sort of indication. Here's kind of what the reviews say. A WoW video game adaptation revolving around some Knights Templar nonsense. Yeah, that made about as much sense.
I mean, that's a pretty apt description of the game sometimes.
I was going to say, you could probably put that on the box for most of the games as well.
Let's see. A movie of sprawling awfulness.
Ooh.
It's
sprawling.
Yeah, this is all very dumb that the film doesn't know its agony.
Okay, so obviously we're going to have some people who watch
a dull, gray, ugly movie that takes 2 long hours to tell a very thin story.
I want to go back to dull and gray in a second, but one thing I want to point out is that I realize there's a lot of people that watch this show, this last version of the show, and they like the Assassin's Creed franchise very much, and they're very much into it. I should point out a personal bias that I have, which is I love the Assassin's Creed games. I've always loved the Assassin's Creed games. I have always hated the Abstergo animus part of that narrative, where I just want to play as the pirate. I just want to play as the assassin. I don't want to go back and forth to this near future world and pretend like everything that I'm doing and I'm invested in isn't real or isn't like it's some kind of like holographic construct from a memory.
Well, it's
It's
like
not
it
the real
reduces the
story.
stakes.
What's that?
It reduces the stakes.
Which I was hoping that when Hollywood got hold of it, they were like, "Oh, this is okay, but we're just going to make a movie about, a period piece about really cool action and everything like that." It goes all in with the Abstergo part.
It's like
The movie
70%
does.
Abstergo.
Yeah, it's
and it's
mostly
not even like
that.
it's not even like good Abstergo.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, they kind of talk about that beforehand. That seemed to be where they were going with it. I don't know why they chose to do that, but maybe it's probably a lot cheaper, I imagine, than doing the entire thing as sort of a period piece.
Interesting you would say that because it goes back to the dull and gray comment. This movie, I hope you go see it. And if anyone goes to see it, play a game with yourself.
I want to share the agony.
It is. Misery loves company. You can make salty comments on the internet. I'm like a lot of video game fans where now I'm upset. Why can't they make a good video game movie? Why can't they do it? What is the holdback? Is it? I get it's interactive. I get when I play as Master Chief, I have the experience as Master Chief, and seeing him will be different on a screen. It's like trying to show a Superman movie to a room full of Clark Kents. But somebody's got to be able to do it right. Somebody.
Do you think there's a conceit in the people that go about constructing these movies and writing them that they are better storytellers than the video game storytellers?
That's what I was hoping for Assassin's Creed. I agree with you. I do think there is that. And I was hoping that would finally work in our favor, where they would go like, oh, yeah, we're not going to do all this like real world stuff in a corporation.
Like this all seems awfully convoluted. Let's like simplify it into like a nice, clean story.
We got 90 minutes here, or 2 hours, according to that review.
3 years, according to what it felt like.
But the dull and gray thing was we talk about making it on the cheap is the first I noticed in the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then it just kept going. Try to find, when you go see this movie, try to go find the first shot in this movie that doesn't have smoke in it. There's smoke and lens flare through this whole movie. I pointed out to Ashley, and I think I ruined it for you at that point because I was like, man, there's so much smoke over everything. Like when they show the city, like the high, like eagle eye view.
Speaking of which, out of the 2 hours, about 15 minutes is spent just watching an eagle fly.
Might not be that much, but it feels like it. Yeah. The stuff they kept from the game was...
It's like they were like, it's going to be a cool little nod.
Hey, they got eagles, right?
Okay, so this is... Your thing fell.
No! Now our time will be wrong.
It's the last time that will fall.
It's the last episode. There's no rules.
So, I mean, it's like I don't want to spoil the ending, but I gotta.
Don't spoil the ending.
Well, not the ending, but like the third.
How many
from the
endings
ending,
were
because
there?
I felt like there were a lot. I kept expecting it to.
Was it
end,
like the Hobbit level where it's like,
And then-
but no, sorry, Lord of
and
the
then,
Rings.
like,
where it's
another
like,
scene would
oh,
start
but
up.
wait, then they're gonna go to the west. Oh, and then here's Hobbiton.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's what Peter Jackson had for lunch today.
Here's a Q&A with Peter Jackson afterwards.
Yeah, but like their nods were
Coveted fourth act.
super weird. Like they were of all the things they decided to be really, really loyal to in the video games. Like watching eagles fly was not one that I would have picked up as like.
Are you going to say what the female scientist says?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and say that. Because
Okay.
people should know this. You're always worried when you go to a video game movie. They're going to do stuff that like says, "Oh, look, we're we get it." And then the way they handle it's like, "You don't get it. Please don't do that."
It's like
pandering.
You need to
Pandering.
stop.
Yeah.
Where at one point, like he jumps off a thing, and she goes, "The leap of faith."
Literally, that moment happens in the movie. It's,
No.
it
and
really
she's
was
like
oh.
in awe, like I've never seen. It's like she was seeing blue fucking steel.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, it's beautiful.
In the actress's defense, shitty line.
It was a
They
shitty line.
should've
I
cut
don't know.
that.
Here's the problem is with a lot of it is if you pay attention to the dialogue, a lot of it just straight up doesn't make sense. Like they just put a bunch of words together and we're like, cool.
I know. It'd be like if you went to see like some video game movie in the future and there's these huge guys and they're fighting in this war against things that are coming out of the ground and one of them turns to the other and goes, "It's like we're gears in this war," or something. It's terrible. It's really terrible.
And they make as many excuses to say like the Assassin's Creed as possible. And
Well, that's the other part of the movie that I thought they would kind of like write better. A lot of that, everything is permitted. nothing is true. That whole like,
Right.
that the assassins do. It's like they left that all in word for word, and I've always felt like that was okay in the games, and it could have been improved
It
upon.
definitely could use some cleaning up.
Yeah.
And maybe some expounding upon, because
Well-
if you just go by the letter of it, is like, that's a horrible thing to live by.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
unfortunately for us, I looked up who wrote this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by so it was written by 3 people. One of them was like, oh, he did like a screenplay adaptation of Macbeth last year, but and
Sure.
like never heard of anything else he'd ever done. But the other 2, they worked together on Allegiant.
Oh.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
you know, the one that ended up being so bad that they're like, maybe we'll just do the second part on TV.
It drove that right
And-
off the
I
silver
don't
screen.
remember it.
And
Sounds like an
Exodus
insurance company.
Gods and Kings.
Oh wow. Okay. Fair
So
play.
that's
So-
the team that they were like, you know what's really going to fix video game
How much
movies?
was this
These
movie?
guys.
It's
How much
somehow,
was
I
it?
feel like U-Bowl was somewhere in there too, right? He had
Well,
been
here's the
swimming
thing:
around
is
in the background.
Ubisoft has licensed stuff out to Uwe Boll in the past. They licensed Far Cry to him.
You know they wanted me to box Huey Bowl one time.
No,
And you didn't?
No, it came up. It was a
he's
film
a
festival.
boxer.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's a former amateur
Oh, don't
boxer,
do
and
that.
I knew that. He had done a thing the year that we did the big Laser Team crowdfunding, and we had a huge success story about that. He had also done a crowdfunding, failed miserably. Then he did a rant to the internet about how they don't support real movies and all that stuff, and he was quit. It was like all this, all these big proclamations, but basically blaming everyone else for the failure of his crowdfunding thing and how crowdfunding is a hoax and all this stuff. And it
It's
made
only
this
a hoax because it failed.
big hubbub. So they said, "Hey, would you come at this festival where they have this boxing debates?" I said, "Would you box him?" I'm like, "Fuck no, I'm not gonna do that." First, he's an amateur boxer, so I could try to train and get ready for this. But the second thing is, I have nothing to gain from that.
What are you proving there?
Yeah.
Like, hey, that guy is not good at making movies and no one supports him, but you should punch him so he learns his lesson?
I was like, I'll box anybody else. Want to get one of those like little kids from the Stranger Things in? I'll box one of them. Let's do that.
Well, also
You need to
remember
work your way up. It's like Punch Out. You start with the skinny guys and you work your way up to Mike Tyson.
I need my Glass Joe.
well, remember, like Uwe Boll's boxed critics before, like critics who panned his movies, and he beat the shit out of them.
Well, one of them was
Like,
low
there was,
tax from Something Awful.
Yeah, there was Something Awful. There was who else? Jeff Snyder from Ain't It Cool. He ended up taking a technical knockout.
Who did?
Saying Jeff Snyder saying he's like, I thought it was just gonna be like an exhibition match. Like he's beating the
So he
crap out of
just lay down.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and then like 2 other guys. Like so he's beat up critics before.
What I'm getting from this is there's like a miasma of poor decision making that just
Solid
exudes
word.
from him.
Miasma.
My ass.
Yeah, yeah. It's my last big word for the patch.
That's the word of the day, miasma. As said by Milhouse on Simpsons, according
So-
to Ashley.
Yes. So like this movie, and I wanted this movie to be good. I wanted this movie to be the X-Men that was going to kick off a golden era of video game movies, like improve, like they can be good.
Was it
I was like,
X-Men? Is that what you give credit to? Yeah, it's a
I
good
do
one.
because X-Men
It did
2000
kind of turn around
like
superhero
they're
movies. The
like,
first one was
Batman's always had good iterations
Yeah.
over the years, but nothing took hold. I think you're right, like X-Men did.
Yeah, the Batman movies, I feel like they weren't really treated as comic book movies at the time. They were Batman.
Yeah, he'd been on TV and everything else already.
Yeah.
Live action series, as weird as those were.
Yeah, but I feel like,
we got
you
the
know,
shitty
if-
stuff out of the way earlier.
If I have to point to like a movie that I feel like kind of like individually set things up for the future to be where we're at with comic book movies, it would be that one because Spider-Man was 2002.
Yeah, Spider-Man's the only other one I would say at that era that really helped.
Yeah,
kick
and
things
then
off.
they sort of like
That's really
rolled on
funny,
from
too.
there.
Both great movies. The original X-Men and the original Spider-Man. I thought both great movies.
Well, it's funny. Oh man, it's really funny though you say that is because that was two non-Marvel owned properties setting the stage for Marvel's huge.
It's true. And then
Blockbusters.
by the time, and what is the movie you credit as kicking off the Marvel era?
Iron Man.
Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
And but I feel like by the time we got to Iron Man, it was great timing. Everyone, the pump was already primed.
Yeah.
There was a miasma of superhero movies that were a success out there, and so we could all enjoy Iron Man.
Unless we forget the Punisher. I mean, what a film that
Thomas
was.
Jane Punisher?
Sure,
yeah.
man.
There was a Dolph Lundgren Punisher as well. You know, to me, Fantastic Four is always the one that's like they're gonna try to make that work.
Like
no matter
someday,
what.
and no.
I still love they had a Fantastic Four movie where it was Captain America as Human Torch, and they were just like, no one will notice if we just move him over.
Look,
and
he
make
got
him-
he swelled up like 3 sizes to go to Captain America, though. I mean, if you look at him as Human Torch, he's like, oh, that's a fairly normal sized human. Then Captain America, he's like, gunk.
He's like the Grinch, but of Patriots.
Right, his muscles swelled 4 sizes that day.
It's like the Christian Bale.
They gave him the shield.
So I really hope that Assassin's Creed was going to do this for video game movies, and then we'd have the BioShocks, and we'd have the Last of Us's, and we'd have the Uncharted's, and like suddenly like they would be, they wouldn't be like, oh god, here we go, another video game adaptation.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do we need those movies? Do you need an Uncharted movie? Because Uncharted to me is enough of a cinematic experience unto itself.
No, but did I need all the Marvel movies? No, but I really like them.
But if you took like a Metal Gear Solid and you said, how are we going to make this into a movie? What can we cut out to make this a movie? Because it's longer than your average
Or in the
movie
case
in
of the
theaters.
most recent Metal Gear, what could we add to give an ending to the movie? Would be nice.
Maybe
Just have Kojima
maybe the
come out
movie
and
could just be the
explain it.
last third. No, I think it could be cool. I have heard the argument that video games would make better TV series because you do have more time to dig into all of the material. But it's also like any adaptation from a book. It can be done.
No, it can be done.
I mean, the thing, though, the difference there is comics are a very different medium from movies, where I think video games are already closer in that spectrum. You could say you don't need a movie adaptation of a comic, but that's a pretty huge departure from the original source material, whereas a video game these days are getting real close. Mm-hmm. They're telling so many things through cutscenes and stuff. It's like, well, there, just stitch the cutscenes together. Movie, sort of, depending on the game.
Like I would, Last of Us. I'm dying to play Last of Us 2. Is that what they're calling it? Last of Us 2.
Yep.
But if they made a Last of Us movie, I'd be like very, very skeptical. I think Warcraft was probably my last like bastion of hope that this could work out because it was
Because the Moon Guy?
directed by Duncan Jones. Yeah, and it seemed like a perfect storm to me. It was good timing. The Marvel movies were all crushing it, and Warcraft was just kind of like, eh. And it might be the audience. The audience might just not want to support these movies and go see them.
Well, you say that, but after all these reviews hit with, and they were all like all the reviews for Assassin's Creed.
You're right.
They had very
Yeah.
similar criticisms. Like they were like across the board had very common themes. The story is convoluted, not told very well, but they spend so much time trying, like to explain how all this stuff works that there's just a lot less movie that you get out of it. No one looks like they're having any sort of fun. The fun parts, there's like, he only goes into the Animus like 3 or 4 times. So like that stuff, it's all modern as opposed to this period thing, which was like, it was largely marketed showing a lot of the past stuff.
Do they at least
But
give
that's a minority.
a good motive for going into the Animus?
They're looking for a thing.
That's
They're looking for artifacts.
If you've played the game, it's definitely part of the game.
They're just trying to find the...
Yeah,
trying
they're
to
trying to find the apple of Eden.
where it ended up in history. And
Okay.
they're just trying to track through that. But then it gets into the whole narrative, which is a huge problem in Assassin's Creed, I think, which is for the player, it's interactive. For the viewer watching Michael Fassbender, it's interactive.
Mm-hmm.
He was watching what he's doing. And the Animus in this is way more interactive than just laying in a bed like in the game, which they have to do for the movie. And I thought they did as good a job as they could with that. But the paradox of it is that he can't change anything in the past. He's there to observe and follow the chain to find out where the relic ended up. But they even try to explain the fact that he can't change anything. But then you're like, well, what's he doing in the machine where he's jumping around on buildings and stuff like that?
Right. And it makes it like, well, okay, so then nothing he's doing matters.
No, it literally is.
Like he's along for the ride. You're just watching him be along for
Just
the
be
ride.
the eagle. And I get it. It's the memories tied to
Be
genetics.
the eagle.
But there's no legitimate explanation of in the movie, I felt like, of why he has to go through these things. And what it leads to is, what are the stakes for this character? If he messes up, what happens? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Can he mess up?
Can he
Yeah,
fail?
he apparently can't.
Right.
He's just following along this trail, and it seems like he's participating in it. But the overall message that you get from everyone who's talking is that no, he's just literally along for the ride. Isn't that what they say at one point?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He's just about to go, and she's like, and remember, you can't change anything.
It's like what?
Great. We're set up for a lot of fun now.
So does he have free will in there?
Oh, it's
or
interesting that you would ask that question.
Well, because really, that's the whole goal is to destroy free will. That's what the Templars are going for.
And by the way, she just gave away the entire plot. That's as
That is
Well,
the
that's-
entire
that's
plot.
that's as
pretty
deep as
Assassin's
they go
Creed.
into that concept.
I mean, that's Assassin's Creed's been
Yeah.
espousing that for a long time.
Yeah.
But so like all these reviews had like a lot of commonalities across the board, and we as we often do a roundup of these reviews, and we're like, well, people are not liking this. It is not a good sign. And the number one feedback was, I want it to be good, therefore these guys probably don't play games, or they don't like Assassin's Creed, or they didn't play the most recent one, or they just don't get it, or they have a grudge against video game movies, or all the people that want it to be good were so intent on finding a way to say that all the reviewers must be wrong because this has to be good. None of these people, by the way, like the reviewers who've seen the movie, none of these people had seen the movie yet. They just wanted it to be good so hard that they were willing to immediately throw out the feedback. That they wanted to come and get the feedback, but if it didn't agree with what they wanted the answer to be, they were ready to throw it out.
And honestly, we're not sitting here trying to tell people not to like this movie. You should go see the movie and see if you like it. But there's going to be some people who walk out and they're going to love the movie. I mean, 20% of the people is still a significant amount of people. If they walk out and say, that was a great movie. If they do that and they walk out, they're going to think that the people who didn't like it just didn't get it. That's the common response I often hear is, you just didn't get it, or it's not for you, But it's just like, people are going to like different stuff. I'm coming more from the aspect of, I want there to be a standout hit in the video game movie genre. I want that to happen. But then when I say that out loud, I'm not sure I want that to happen, because I walked out of that movie and I said to Ashley, I said, you know what I realized in the course of that movie? Is that Red vs. Blue is the best video game movie ever made. I don't know why we don't talk about that more. It's like everyone's trying to make these huge, look up and see how much Assassin's Creed cost to make, estimated. It's going to make my heart burn. But what's that?
125 million?
125 million.
And I can tell you right now, it was all spent on smoke machines.
It was.
And lens flares.
Lens flares. And lens flares through smoke. So it's just like a hazy sun that just like...
I would have assumed that the lens flares were for the future and that the smoke was for the past. But
nope, it's
so
all
they're mixing.
there. I feel like
There's even like one time they do a POV shot with a crossbow. It's just like... It was just for a moment and you're like, what am I watching? Who's shooting this movie?
Yeah, I feel like they didn't have the kind of budget to do a lot of like really crazy effects, but they had to build this 1492 Andalusia, Spain, and they got a sketch of it done and then went, I just put smoke over it.
I'm sure someone will send us a Wikipedia article saying how much, wood-burning fires existed historically at that point in time and why the smoke would be accurate. It just means we can't see anything.
Yeah.
You could also make the argument that it's the animus, and because it's memory, it's fuzzy, and that's why you can't see all the detail. You can make whatever excuses you want, but what it ended up looking like is that you just can't see what's happening on screen.
That was really uniquely surprising about this movie is just the muddiness of what we're watching. And granted, it could have been the projection that we saw too. I don't think so. We were in a really nice theater, and it was just. And I walked into another theater. We went to a screening last night, and I walked into another theater and saw the shots looked the exact same. And I also noted the theater was almost as empty as the one we were in. There was probably 11 people opening weekend in the theater that we were in. So
there's been a real run
it made
lately
like
on
$1 million on Wednesday or on Tuesday night.
That's it? Yikes.
Yep.
There's been a real run lately on this whole desaturation thing. I mean, that was Batman v Superman got blasted for it as well. It's like, where did all the color go?
Yeah.
Why is Superman the grayest Superman ever? I wonder why. Is that just to cover up, do you think, CG effects now? Is it helps if you take some of the color out of it?
Well, I do think I definitely, as a person who's worked on movies, I felt like when they showed the big opening shots of Andalusia, the city where they are, where the assassins are, I felt like that's the shot from the game when you climb to the top of a tower and you unlock an area and it shows you everything, and then it zooms in on the certain things that you see. They didn't do the zooming in part. They just did the big wide shot and then covered everything in smoke. And so I thought they probably just weren't happy with the way that looked. So they thought, we'll just spice it up. Yeah, exactly right.
I guess, to be fair, the original Assassin's Creed, if they were really modeling it after Assassin's Creed 1, my memory of it was fairly desaturated as a game. Like, there was not a strong color palette to that game.
It goes beyond just color palette, though. It really is can't see. It's not just like, this is a clear image and there's a certain color choice being made here. This is like there's constant lens flare when someone's talking. You get an idea that someone's in the frame sometimes, but that's it. You have like a silhouette. It seemed to me to be a very conscious choice, and one that once I noticed, I couldn't unnotice it.
Uh-huh.
And I very rarely do that in movies. I can go in a movie and completely suspend disbelief. Like I go in a movie and I see Tom Cruise playing whatever character. 2 minutes later, he's that character. Even though I watch Tom Cruise jump around on couches on
Right.
Oprah and stuff, I can totally suspend my disbelief. By
It's-
the way, the Mummy trailer was better.
Oh, yeah?
The half audio Mummy trailer was actually better than Assassin's Creed. I saw them both in the same day.
Do you think it's just there seems to be like a real fear in Hollywood to just accept the source material for what it is? I mean, you talk about Red versus Blue, and that's one of the things that's really nice about Red versus Blue is you guys just said yes.
Well, you're also in now the highest rated video game movie of all
I
time,
am.
Uno the movie.
I am, and we just totally accepted the story of Uno as it was and decided to go forward with it. We embraced it for its true roots.
Well, here's looking at you.
The highest rated movie of all time right now, I think,
It is. I think it's
for
up
no
there.
reason
It's definitely
whatsoever.
the highest rated film of 2016.
Yeah.
So just for perspective, Red versus Blue was in that same situation for like 3 or 4 years, where it was like a 9.4 on IMDb, which put it up there with like Godfather and Shawshank Redemption at the time. But we didn't have enough votes to like hit on the
Right.
ranking. Like, I think like Godfather had something like 45,000 votes, and we had something like 5,000 or 6,000
Yeah.
votes. And now over the later seasons, it's probably somewhere around a solid like 8.5, which still though puts it head and shoulders above
great.
anything else that's been produced. For 1,000 or 10,000 times the budget. The budget of Red versus Blue was $50.
Yeah.
That was the budget. It's crazy. I mean, even take like Laser Team. I mean, Laser Team's not The Godfather, but it's a $2.5 million movie. That's better than what they can produce with $125 million, major Hollywood actors, and source material to work from.
But they're afraid of it. Why are they afraid of
They're
it?
not creating an original IP, so it's just nuts to me that doesn't work. I
Why
don't know.
are they afraid of just delivering the source material?
All I can think is they don't get it, and they can't figure out a way to present it, which is why I was excited about Warcraft, because Duncan Jones was a guy I thought could deliver that. I think Edgar Wright could probably make a good video game movie.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, he did Scott Pilgrim, he did Ant-Man, or he started Ant-Man, I guess.
I believe in Joss Whedon.
Yeah, I bet Joss Whedon could do a great video game movie. Freddie Wong,
Freddie Wong, sure.
there we go.
Got it. That's
When
gonna.
you're
those are-
nominated next
Gavin
time,
Free,
you're
Gavin
up
Free.
One of those will be our breakout directors
someday.
someday. But
Someday,
it is
I mean,
not
why
this day.
wouldn't they go out and tap Freddie Wong to make a video game movie? Why wouldn't they do that?
So the guy that directed this was it's Justin Kurzel. And by the way, I finally found out like why a guy who did Macbeth worked on this is because, and it makes a lot of sense. He worked on Macbeth with Justin Kurzel, who directed it last year.
So he just brought in
So
somebody
they'd
he's
worked
familiar
together.
with. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like familiar with him.
All right. Well,
Bright spot. Michael Fassbender's fucking dope as hell. He's great in everything that he's in, and
He's got sweet traps.
he's got his shirt off half the movie. So
Oh, well,
that's
hey, I mean-
price of admission.
That's only when he wants you to know that he means business now.
Yeah, if the shirt comes off.
but I thought
Yeah.
you couldn't see him.
he saves that showstopper.
Is the smoke coming off of him? Is that where all?
Dude,
is
there's
this
even smoke
steam?
indoors. Yes, there are times when he's obscured by smoke. There's a point later in the movie. This is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, but it's actually in the trailers too, where the people in Abstergo steal weapons, historical weapons, out of a case, and you're like, oh man, they're gonna have all these fucking chink chink, snick little
Snick,
wrist
snick,
blades, and they're gonna have axes and all this stuff, and their cowls and everything. What do they grab? Fucking smoke bombs. Fucking smoke bombs, dude. I'm like, you're kidding me with the goddamn smoke.
Ross was like,
Yeah. The guy goes, yeah. It's like, I was like, oh, he's got those grenades, and then he hits the ground. It's like, oh, right, those are
Of
smoke
course it's
bombs.
smoke.
Those because they're assassin's tools, so they're fucking smoke bombs. Anyway, just go see this. And then when I talk about smoke, I'm not talking about smoke bomb smoke. I'm talking there's just smoke in the air everywhere that they go.
It's real hazy.
Animus filled with smoke.
Well, it's
Yeah,
the
well, it's
Templar
like-
future. You can
it's-
smoke indoors.
it's because they're using projectors to project his memories or whatever on smoke so that she can watch him relive these memories.
Yes.
It's the
They couldn't just set up a monitor.
Well,
nah.
there's a dude on every movie
Yeah.
set who has a little steam machine, right, or a little fog machine, and goes out and makes fog. They call it environment. We need more environment. Than that's what I've heard on the sets I've been on. And they do that so the lights, you can see the lights in some scene.
Right.
They
gives
need
you
to,
the light shaft.
they need to do that. This was that to an extreme level, just an extraordinarily.
Do
extreme
you
level.
think you could point at every light unit in that set just based off of that?
Oh, probably.
Like,
And a lot of them were probably CG as well. Some of those were, especially when he's in the Animus and everything. But
Yeah, there's like lots of weird stuff too. Like he's in a cell, and for some reason, one of the light sources is underneath his bedside table.
Oh, it's important. Yeah, no. And so if you drop something,
did you notice that?
if you're at night, you're rooting around under there. You want to make sure you can find.
Gotta
your
keep the
keys.
monsters out.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
That's great. Yeah,
He's an assassin by day, but by night it's scary. It's dark.
they didn't give him a teddy bear, I imagine.
The
There's
night
stuff
is-
that's good. Let's
the
go.
night is dark
And on
and
a
full of
positive note with
terrors.
Assassin's Creed. First of all, thumbs up. Go see the movie. The parkour stuff was good.
Parkour was amazing.
And
If it
when
had been
they
a
had it.
2-hour parkour movie, I would have given it like 11 out of 10.
Like running across ropes and stuff like that. That was why I went to go see an Assassin's Creed.
Even though there was a horse on a roof for some reason.
Yeah, they did the whole like running from guards on the roof and all that stuff. The one chase scene did last a long time, and I was thinking, man, this scene's forever. And I'm like, this is exactly how I feel playing the game. I'm like, guards, stop fucking following me. You haven't seen me for fucking 5 minutes.
Like, how did you even know I was headed this direction?
Did
Right.
someone jump in a bale of hay and just hang
Oh, of
out there,
course.
and just to get away from people?
Well, I don't want to give away too much,
All
but
right.
there was a thing that I see a lot in Assassin's Creed, and I think a lot of people associate with Assassin's Creed.
Was
didn't-
it the leap of faith?
It was associated with that, but they never really paid off the leap of faith. What he
No,
did.
they really didn't.
Right? You know?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you count that, but I would say no, they didn't.
Well, I mean, jumping from a 400-foot tower into a bale of hay is probably not something that even the most forgiving Hollywood audience would go, what? You know, but there is definitely some stuff in here that if you're a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise, you'll be happy to see it on screen. But I think most of us are going to walk away disappointed that we have yet to make a hit video game movie. Someday, somebody can still do it right.
And someday, hopefully, we'll figure out how they convince Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, and Jeremy Irons to be in this thing.
I just like to think that it's one of those in the trenches mindset, like you're down there and you don't realize what you're making. Like the smoke's not there all the time on set. Some of that's added later,
Well,
I'm sure.
Fassbender produced, so this is like his first producer
Oh.
credit.
And last.
I
no,
assume
he'll
that
be
he
fine.
has something on the other two. He's like, I need you
He's
to
got
do
some
this.
dirt.
They read the script and went, "You've got to be kidding me!" And he's like,
Like,
and they were like, "All right, fine."
you want me to say this? It's like with a serious look on my face.
The leap of faith.
How many takes do you think it was that? Like the leap of.
Hey, she's a professional. It only took one.
Well, you know what'll never let you down?
What will never,
What will
let, us
never
down?
let us down?
Blue Apron. This
Thank you, Blue
episode of The Patch is brought to you by Blue Apron. Not all ingredients are created equal. Fresh, high-quality ingredients taste better and are better for you, so it's important to know where your food comes from. Blue Apron knows that when you cook with incredible ingredients, you make incredible meals, so they set the highest quality standards for their community of artisanal suppliers, family-run farms, fisheries, and ranchers. Whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron is bringing you the best. For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-proportioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron features new recipes that are created each week by Blue Apron's culinary team and are not repeated within a year. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-proportioned ingredients and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/thepatch. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create an incredible home-cooked meal with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/thepatch. Blue Apron, a better way to cook and way better than the Assassin's Creed movie.
Not you listen. If you overcook your Blue Apron meal, and you can make smoke in your apartment, and then you can be like, just like you're in the Assassin's Creed movie, hop up on the counter and be like, snick, snick, with the fucking butcher knives or whatever. Don't overcook your Blue Apron. It would be a waste of money.
It would be.
Yeah, just like the Assassin's Creed movie.
There you go. Trust the source material. Trust what's in the box. There you go.
Exactly.
Just delivering what's in the
follow the
box.
instructions that they give you. It will all be fine.
Right. And know when, if you have a microwave oven or a fucking convection oven, when you read those convection oven, which by the way, nobody owns one of those convection air ovens. Do you own one?
Both my oven and my toaster oven have convection functions on them.
Do they really?
I've
might-
never used it.
We
Yeah.
might have convection on
That's
ours.
to me, convection
It
is
looks like a fan. You just
the convection instructions to me are like the Abstergo parts of Assassin's Creed. Everybody knows to ignore those. Everybody knows. Just leave it out.
it's
Just
like, hey, it'll cook it faster.
read the traditional oven or read the microwave instructions, and you'll be fine.
I mean, it may be incredibly dry, but it'll be fast. I don't know. I've never tried it. That's my fear is that if you do it too fast, and it's like it's cooking with a blow dryer.
Well, if there were more patches in our future, then we could have a
we could report back.
convection cook-off.
We
or
have a
something.
turkey v turkey. That's our new show, actually. We're replacing the patch with turkey v turkey.
Turkey v turkey.
Yeah.
Like every week.
It's just head-to-head turkey.
Every week, 2 Rooster Teeth chefs compete to see who
I
has
bet
the
we
most
get at least
delicious
20%
turkey.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
There we go.
I bet. What a bummer, man. Just a bummer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an appropriate note to end the year on, I suppose.
Oh, 2016?
Sure.
It was a good year for gaming, though.
I think 2016 was a great year for gaming.
it was a hell of a
think so?
year.
I mean, overall, I feel like there were some real high points, but I don't feel like there were as many high point games as last year. But maybe I'm just feeling jaded this year.
I went back right before this. I was looking through the list of what came out this year because it starts to all run together in your head.
The scary thing about 2016, I think, in general, is while the games were good, some of the sales weren't great. And there were some surprising failures.
Yeah, there were. It was an interesting holiday period overall, just because we had games, all sequels in major, well-known AAA franchises falling 40, 50, 80%.
Yeah.
And for
Which I
their
said the word
week one
failure,
sales.
but still a ton of money being
It's
made.
like
Right.
it's like
But off the peak for sure.
It's like relative deprivation.
Yeah.
It's like it's a failure for that franchise, but there are tons of games who would kill to still have their numbers.
But arguably, I think the biggest story of 2016 was centered around a major failure because No Man's Sky was the story that just people would not let go of all year long.
Which is funny because it probably sold more copies than some of those sequel failures.
Right.
So it was critically panned, but commercially a fairly successful game.
I also would love to see the refund
in the
numbers on
short
it.
term. That's the thing, is it was weird seeing the unusual event of refunds with like Steam offering refunds outside their traditional model of like 2 hours. We had people with 80 hours getting refunds.
Oh, hours
And-
played.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we were seeing the overall owners on Steam drop. So more people were returning it than were buying it. And that's a very, very unusual thing to see.
I think it's a place you never want to get into with the online audience when the momentum shifts completely against you and people like get on board with hating you because it's like the meme of the moment. There's a guy who's going through that right now on YouTube. This is a pre-recorded patch.
This is pre-recorded,
Because
yes.
it's coming out at the end of the year. So we're recording this probably about 4 or 5 days before it. But right at this moment as we're recording it, there's a guy on YouTube who has a history of making fake airline prank videos. And he had a
Like trying to get kicked off of airlines
And it is
for
a-
being Arabic.
but he had a tweet that went
Okay.
viral. It's probably the most viral tweet I've ever seen. It has something like 656,000 retweets, on it,
Whoa.
which is an extraordinary amount. And it was a video of him getting kicked off a plane because he said, I was just speaking a different language and they kicked me off a plane. And naturally, that's something where people are like completely outraged about it. But then anyone in the YouTube community who just clicks on his link in Twitter and goes to his page, that's all of his other videos are social experiments on planes or things where he's actively faked things and been outed for faking things, like putting himself in a suitcase and putting him through the cargo hold. And then they had footage of him actually boarding the plane with his buddies. The airline released it from Australia. So that was a video that was just recently debunked, and then this thing came out. Anyway, the tide has definitely turned on this guy, and you can see everyone starting to go after him now, and they want him to be held responsible, which I get because he's using what are very serious social issues for what appears to be his own benefit if it's faked. It hasn't been proven that it's faked yet, but all the signs are kind of pointing, that direction.
And it's an unfortunate thing overall because you don't want to say you got to be a bad guy because you've done bad stuff in the past, but it's hard to ignore a cry wolf.
Yeah, you establish a reputation, and people are going to start disbelieving anything you do just because you did several. Well, I mean that's So it's something you learned as a kid.
You were
Right.
you were looking something up though. I started vamping when you were looking.
Oh
up
no, I was,
something on
yeah, I
your
was
phone.
looking up just the list of games from this year.
So I know it doesn't feel like it. It's weird. It's so long ago, but like Uncharted 4 came out this year.
Uncharted 4, XCOM 2 was this year.
Yeah, it was.
It actually came out in February.
Really? Yeah.
I'd forgotten that was this year. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. No wait, yeah, Mankind
Yeah.
Divided. Human Revolution was last year.
XCOM 2 is this year. Wow.
XCOM 2 is this year.
I thought it came out like right after E3.
It
last
came
year.
out twice this year. It came out in February, then came out again in September. But yeah, I mean, we had Overwatch, Battleborn, poor Battleborn, Titanfall,
Is that just
Civ
timing
6.
on Battleborn?
Yeah, no, I
Mostly,
think it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was timing, yeah, because like if it came out, it was a few weeks before it, and you'd think that would be enough space, but it wasn't.
I felt like they were firing at each other because one of them was coming out and the other made their beta come out the day before the other, or the week that the other one's game actually came out at the Overwatch.
Yeah.
Put their beta out at that time. So, I mean, it could have been, Overwatch is a huge phenomenon. It's probably the biggest successful gaming story of the year. Am I fair in saying that?
I'd say yeah, probably so. I mean, it's turned into a major esport
It's a
in
new
the same year
it's
it
a
came
new
out.
IP that immediately blew up, which I mean it's Blizzard, so it's you could almost argue that like it's the like you know, it's a Blizzard game, whatever. They'll all blow up, but it is a new IP, which is increasingly rare. I
But
feel like
also, something blowing up does not mean it will have the longevity to become, a
That is
franchise or a
absolutely
hit.
true.
You know, some things can get really huge and die out fast. I mean, I game I loved a lot, Rocket League. I thought, that thing exploded, and then I lost interest in it. I feel like everyone in general lost interest in it. I saw a documentary recently where the developer said, we don't know if there's anyone left to sell this game to. Like, we might have sold it to everybody.
Was that Denny's No Clip
I think it
documentary?
was one of his no clip. I think I saw the no clip trailer on Rocket League, and the developer was saying that in it.
I
Yeah.
think I already own it on, I think, 3 platforms.
Yeah.
And it was huge for a long time. They're still supporting it with content. People are still playing it. It's
Yeah.
not hard to find a game.
Have you guys played Rumble mode at Achievement Hunter yet with
I
that?
don't know. Wait, no, that's the one where you have
Power-ups?
power-ups. Yes, we have.
Okay,
we
great.
did a Let's Play.
I just played that with the boys this weekend, and it was like I got totally back into Rocket League in 2
yeah,
seconds.
it changes the game around so much, but it's not overbearing.
It's a great I like the way they approach it too. Like CD Projekt Red, I like people who approach the business side of games very openly, where it's like they give you free maps, they give you free game modes, but then you pay for the cars if you want the cars, which
Right.
don't add anything into the game skills wise, but it's just little cosmetic upticks, which I'm more than happy to support a great developer like them.
Yeah. This year, also notable, Stardew Valley
Yeah.
came out this year.
We lost Ashley for a couple weeks to that one.
We did, yeah. Super Hot was another one, big one of the smaller game titles.
So you're
Owlboy.
a VR guy yourself as
Yeah.
well. How do you feel about Super Hot now being exclusive to Oculus for VR?
It's hard to say anything's exclusive to Oculus now that they've really backed off on the Revive restrictions. It's pretty simple for most games to just install Revive and go ahead and boot it up on your Vive. So selling it in that marketplace, I think in some ways maybe the Oculus has done the smart thing by letting that marketplace be open, because that's probably moved a lot more units of anything that's an exclusive title. I'm fine, I think, with them allowing other hardware and having exclusive to their ecosystem titles, because every developer does that. That being said, I think the Super Hot developers came out and said that there's no money in it. Like
Yeah.
they did not make anything off doing that.
Didn't you say the PlayStation VR has more units sold than any other VR
Then,
platform?
yeah, as far as we can tell, because neither Oculus or Vive have really like put out their official numbers, so it's based on third-party analytics. But as far as anyone can tell, PlayStation VR sold as many units as Vive and Oculus combined.
Did it
More.
beat Gear VR though?
I don't think anything's beat Gear VR.
But basically, Gear VR was just being given away. I mean, you buy a new Samsung phones, like, hey, here you go, have one of these.
Yeah, I feel like mobile
Most of them are in
VR
a box,
is
I'm
very
sure.
much its own ecosystem. Like Gear VR would be competing against Cardboard and their new one. It's not Cardboard. I just call it Felt, but it's Dream, Google Dream, something like
right,
that.
yeah.
Daydream?
Daydream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like those other mobile headsets, I don't feel like they're the same type of VR.
I agree. Well, they're not positionally tracked, so they're purely gimbal, which is a big
They
difference.
basically use an
You're a
accelerometer
gimbal. That's
to-
what I heard.
All right.
Wow.
Whoa.
How
hey.
dare
Hey.
you.
Hey.
Gloves are off in the last episode of the patch.
Jeez.
This is when how we really feel comes
No, you're
out.
the Assassin's Creed. movie.
Oh, ow.
Time to take a leap of faith.
That was just an expression.
We also had Doom this year, The Witness.
Doom was such
Oh, God,
a
The
great
Witness.
release, man. I love Doom.
You and I was talking to someone yesterday. It was
Another
he's-
great no clip documentary. By the way.
Eddie or Brian who both do writing for the No, and I'm gonna have you talk to them because I think it was Brian was saying he started Doom and he didn't get into it. He said it felt too like slidey or something. I said you need to talk to Bernie. He felt the exact same way.
Yep.
Played it, went off it, didn't enjoy it, went back for I don't know, cause shrug, and ended up loving it.
Yeah, it's very true. I actually abandoned the game about 5 minutes in. I was like, this controls feel weird and stupid. And then I went back and thought I'll give it another shot, and I got totally sucked in.
It definitely played a lot more. It was weird getting used to things like not having to reload.
Not having to reload's cool.
It's very Doom. It felt like they made a modern version of Doom 2.
Yeah.
It played very much like that, except
Melee.
there's more jumping.
Yeah, having those those glory kills and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to play the arcade mode that they put up later as DLC?
I don't know if I have.
It's basically you play a level, and it's like how well can you play a level, and how fast can you go through it, and like you build up multipliers by getting streaks and killing things with a kill timer and everything. So it's the arcade mode's a lot of fun. It's a great take on Doom that even after all these decades of Doom, I have not seen that before.
Yeah. That even the multiplayer to that was fun though. I don't think it got a lot of traction.
Oh, dude, probably the most underrated edit functionality in any game is the Doom Snap system that they have for building levels. And the way they have to distribute those within the game, it's really incredible. You can build some amazing stuff in that. Yeah.
Do you think they are
Second
up-
only to Forge, probably.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, so the thing that really unfortunately sets Doom apart a little bit is it's kind of limited in its game modes. So Forge, you can build a lot of other game types.
Yes.
Because the mechanics you can tweak. Same for GTA. You can really make a lot of things in those builders. For Doom, I feel like you're still kind of be stuck with a deathmatch
Yeah.
at the end of it.
You know, I built a game type where you had like multiple keys. You could open. You need to collect all the keys to open the doors to get through. But it's essentially it does boil down to deathmatch and power ups and weapons and that kind of stuff. So,
But still,
it's still Doom at its core.
It is. I mean, they delivered on a singular product, and it was really good. So it was nicely polished. It worked. That's been kind of a big trend this year, especially for PC deliverables. It's like, well, maybe out of the box, let's give it a week or two, see if anything gets better.
I'm very curious if the falling week one sales are just a sign of a larger trend that's, there's been a very vocal don't pre-order movement going on for a while now, but I wonder if the silent majority has kind of all turned the corner at once on that. Like, yeah, I don't need to do this. So because pre-order sales are all counted with that day one, week one sales, like where you typically the vast majority of game sales are. I wonder, and to some degree, I kind of do credit No Man's Sky with this because so many people got excited and then went, if I'd waited like 2 days, I would have known not to buy this. And so I wonder how many people just very quietly, they're not the people on message boards or on Reddit or on Twitter getting angry. They just very quietly go, not going to do that again. And then just stop pre-ordering.
It really feels like digital delivery killed pre-order. I mean,
you don't
in a
need
lot of
to,
ways.
do you?
You don't.
It's not like you're not going to get a unit.
That was the issue. Is you were like, well, if I don't pre-order it, I'm not going to get one until they restock, and you don't know when that is.
Still applies to hardware.
Especially
does.
with digital, though, because now pre-order bonuses are also all digital. It's not like you're going to get like some crazy cool, giant map or shirt or tchotchkes or whatever.
I mean,
they're
those
all
still
digital
exist.
too. They
you
do.
can still get the physical copies, and a lot of them still have statues. And
Well, but that's
all that
usually
kind
like
of
the
stuff.
super
Gears had a big
limited.
thing, didn't it?
That's usually super
The
limited
couch.
editions,
Can't be
though.
a
That's
couch.
not like a pre-order bonus necessarily. That's like a whole edition of a game.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's more where that direction of physical stuff is going, is like really high-end stuff. And pre-orders are all digital now. Everything is like you can unlock a different outfit in your game.
And typically you can get the pre-order bonus up to the day of, or sometimes the day after the game has released.
Yeah, or it'll like after a month just unlock for everybody.
Yeah, or just somewhere down the line if you feel like it. Hey, here's $2.
Yeah.
And they're kind of under pressure not to make it anything that is game unbalancing.
Right.
So it's not going to be anything that's like, oh, if only I'd pre-ordered, I would be so much better.
What do you associate that with what you're talking about? Is there like a particular digital item that you remember that did that?
That was unbalancing?
No, or that they just went ahead and put out anyway after a little while. Like they made it available to everybody.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it happen.
To me, the baseball bat in Left 4 Dead 2, that's the one I always remember. That
Okay.
If you pre-ordered Left 4 Dead 2 from GameStop, you got a baseball bat. And then like after 3 weeks, they were like, everybody can have the baseball bat. They just put it in the next update,
Yeah, I don't know.
Was the Xbox One S this year?
Yes.
The release this year?
That was July.
And the PlayStation Pro.
Because it's an iteration on the platform, I think it'll be, glossed over as one of the cool things of 2016. I think it's great. The Xbox One S. I don't have a PlayStation Pro, so I can't really talk about that. But it does seem like on a public, I listen to Greg Miller and what he has to say. He doesn't seem that excited about it. Neither does Colin.
About the PS4 Pro?
Yeah, they don't seem that excited about it.
Unless you want to play Last Guardian, apparently.
But the Xbox One S fixed almost everything that I hated about the Xbox One. It really did.
Really? How so?
Well, it got rid of the power brick, which is really great. It made it smaller, increased the storage. I just feel like
Physical power button.
Physical power button, yeah. I feel like it's an overall everything they did was an improvement. Everything was additive, and it's great. Like I do a lot of digital games, as I've said previously on the patch, going back all the way to the pilot for the patch.
So this is the part of the patch where called Bernie Was Right.
Oh, that's the one thing I was right about, though. Everything else I was wrong about.
What were you wrong about?
Oh, I don't know. The digital. When I talked about digital delivery of games on the very first patch, or the very first 3 or 4, I got just hammered as not understanding how much people wanted to keep physical media. And I recognize people who still keep physical media. Eddie in the know. He's one of those people that he wants to buy every single game, physical.
We've got him on a little bit of digital now. His determination is largely, how long am I going to keep playing this game? If I'm just going to play once through it and then I'm done, I'll probably get it physically because then I can sell it and put it towards something else. If it's a game that he has any intention of replaying or multiplayer, or like it's going to be around for a while, he's now going digital.
And that is the argument a lot of people make with me about that, is like that, the economics of being able to trade games back and make sense to them. I just replay games so much, or I visit games, 6 months later, where it's like they come out and then I'm playing them on a 6-month delay sometimes, like games I have to get around to playing. But because I play so many digital games, I on my Xbox Ones, I had like hard drives that were like connected, because like I said, I want to be able to access these things quickly. And so the Xbox One S just like condenses all of that. Mm-hmm. It's past Christmas, right, when we air this?
Yes.
So one of the things we're getting for the boys, are they get to customize their own controllers. That's one of the gifts from the Xbox Lab.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what the hell they come up with.
Oh, it's going to be ridiculous.
Grossest controllers in the world.
Teddy's is going to be the worst.
It'll be
JD's will be like
an
very like
eyesore.
tasteful and understated, and Teddy's will just be like a vomit of color.
Just every option selected.
And we'll still manage to lose it.
I'm actually surprised that Xbox didn't do that, where they went out and got people to design controllers, like influencers in gaming and stuff like that, to like have PewDiePie design a controller. Maybe they did it and I just didn't notice it, but it'd be cool if they like had a gallery of other people's designs.
Oh, just like on there that you could see.
I always thought it was very odd that they even got into that business at all. I mean, there are already so
agree.
many good competitors in that field that have kind of gained some traction. So
If given the choice, I absolutely prefer a first-party controller.
yeah, that's true. But that being said, a lot of the competitors also deliver more options than just the straight up Microsoft score.
What else was this year?
Firewatch was this year.
What are your thoughts on that?
I still haven't beaten it.
Oh, okay.
We all talked about how disappointing it was, and so I just never
So you just
got
went
around
like
to
went away
it.
from it.
I consider Firewatch to be this year's Gone Home.
Oh, it absolutely
Yeah.
is.
Where-
It's very similar. It plays
a
with your
lot of personality.
expectations, subverts them, and you're like something really crazy is going to happen, and then nothing happens.
And the people who really like that game or those titles, they were searching for that experience and weren't able to find it before, and they're so relieved that they this is an amazing game. To me, I'm with you. I wasn't looking for that experience, so it didn't resonate with me the way it did with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Hitman came out this year. Hitman.
I haven't, I played like on the PC some of the Hitman franchise. I just get associated as being Gavin's franchise, so I just go and talk to him about it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this was a pretty good example of the series. It's got a lot of replayability on each individual map. It's nice big open maps. It was that odd staged release, the incremental release, which was it worked out okay. It kept you coming back to the game. You're like, all right, this game's around. I should play the next mission.
Oh, so they put out a mission at a time.
They were just doing it a mission at a time. They didn't. They released the game. You bought it full price, but you didn't get the whole game.
How'd they get away with that one? That's
Well,
pretty dope.
I'd actually be very curious to know, and I don't think we ever will, definitively what kind of impact that had on their sales, because it was a very confusing release model, and it changed.
Yeah.
Like the way
Really?
they communicated it was, it shifted. It was like, it's episodic, but it's not episodic. Like you buy the game and then we release the episodes, but it's not episodic because like you get the whole game and then it's just like, but we're only releasing the story a little bit at a time.
Right.
And it was kind of a weird proposition.
And the
And I
story's a
wonder
little
how many
thin, too.
people besides myself it put off.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, most of these games I'm mentioning are the ones that from earlier in the year, just because I mean, there's Gears of War and Call of Duty, and a lot of the more recent titles. The Division, it's hard to forget that one. Owlboy came out this year. Inside, those are both really good.
The Inside was great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of independent games that did really, really well, too, I think. There was one I played that I really enjoyed that I don't think many people ended up ever playing. It's a game called Tharsis, where you're on a spaceship that's headed towards Mars, and it's kind of like a cross between like
FTL.
Gravity. Yeah, a little bit of FTL, a little bit of like but the movie Gravity, And what's the movie they go into space and like everything goes really super dark and
Gravity?
No. What's the
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon? That's
Hey,
it.
okay.
There's no spiritual stuff in there, but there's some like dark elements of like cannibalism and stuff in there.
What an interesting thing to draw together with.
But no, the interesting thing about Tharsis is that it's a dice-based game. Like you physically or digitally, I should say, roll dice in the game and then assign the dice. So it doesn't abstract that part. It actually makes the dice part of the game.
So instead of the phantom RNG, you have it right there in your face.
Yeah, I mean when you swing the sword
kinda
and,
nice, actually.
Yeah, and the computer's doing it all in the background with a
Yeah.
random number generator. You actually do get to see the dice, and then you can assign the dice, and there's a strategy to that. It's fun. It was Tharsis was a really great game. Another great.
Lots of replayability. You played through that a lot.
Yeah, but I get a little obsessed with some games. I got super obsessed.
A little bit.
I wanted to complete the mission to Mars with all the individual characters, and they all have different powers and all that, which apply like bonuses within the game itself. And then another independent title that I thought did really well this year. I'm trying to think. I was just thinking about this.
7 Days to Die.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. 7 Days to Die did really well.
Did
this
not
year.
have a great Xbox release.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, I mean it ports pretty directly over. I mean, in most of the features that are, or they may even be on parity pretty much with PC. But yeah, it's not well optimized.
Well, Ryan,
for
I
the-
played it on PC. How things have changed.
That's the place to play it. Absolutely.
Here you are talking about the Xbox version of the
Well,
game.
it's because I'm the rest of my office is like an anchor around my neck, but it's okay. We've got them on the PC version. We did a week of 7 Days to Die, and it was all PC.
Yeah.
So we're good.
What day are you up to now?
89. I got a mini bike, baby.
Is there
Yeah.
anything left for you
Did
to
you
do
lose
in
it?
the game?
There's really not much left for me to do. I think I've got my fortress to the point where they're not getting in.
So
at
it
this
is
point.
it is a true Fortress of Solitude.
At this point, I'm just trying to get every weapon. I have a rocket launcher. I got like 12 rockets. I've never used it. And I've got a SMG that I can't find fucking SMG parts anywhere. And
Yeah.
I'm convinced they're gone. So
How into mining did you get in that game?
I got okay. I got an auger at one point.
Uh-huh.
So that helped a little bit. But I just found that when I was going to get other stuff, I would end up getting stone as a
Yeah.
result,
It's most of the, and well, eventually you'll start clearing off all the surface rocks. But I mean, most of your major metals you can just find above ground.
Right, in little deposits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a pretty extensive mine. I'm all the way down to the bedrock layer, and I have
Uh-huh.
like a room down there. So that if anything goes wrong up top, I mean, I
Right.
use the church. I don't know how familiar you are with the map.
Uh-huh.
There's a church in the dead center of the current map. This is build 15. And I use that. That's my fortress. I realized I started too big, so I was having to like maintain
very
this
large, yeah.
massive thing. But if anything goes wrong, I go down to the bottom of the church and into my mine, and then I
got
have
a safe
room
room.
with a vault door and all that stuff. So I'm good.
Yeah,
Use my
you're-
arrow slits and go. Pew, 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 pew. I learned something from your audience.
What's that?
I had my arrow slits backwards.
Initially when I first tried one of those out, I put one up. I was like, "This is stupid. This is the
Wait.
worst way to look at it." And then I figured out you could flip it around.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how are the arrow slits formatted in the game? Like this,
Yes.
so that you've got the
There's
and,
like a concave area, and I had mine
and you
like
gave
this.
the zombies you gave the zombies the space.
The better view, yeah. Yeah. It was it seemed at first so then I have the widest angle which to fire.
Oh, I see.
But then when I flipped it around because of one of your comments, I was reading about 7 days. I was like, oh, let me try that. And I was flipping around. I was like, that's way better.
It is way better.
There's nothing better than when like you misunderstand something
Uh-huh.
and you're like, oh, why'd the developer do this? This doesn't work at all. And then you're like, oh, it's turn around and it's great. Okay, great.
Everything's good again.
So 7 Days to Die, I guess it really only came out on Xbox this year. It came out, I think, on PC last year.
Yeah,
or a year before.
This
maybe.
is the
It's
year
been
it
around for
became a
while.
game, though. I mean, every time I played it before, you started in like the wasteland, and I would get killed in 5 seconds. I'm like, and there's no. They added tutorials now to get kind of like help people through that first night.
Yeah.
Which is what got me involved with Minecraft as well. I saw a first night tutorial, like how to get through your first day and survive, and I just thought, oh, I'll just try this. This looks like fun, and then Minecraft. I fell down that fucking hole.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I still love the game. I'm glad that it's still being actively supported. Well, I mean, it's still an alpha. I mean, I'm curious to see when they're going to go beta with it.
Do you think that it should be sold on the Xbox?
You think
In its
as
current
in
state?
like should early access just not be on console?
Well, this particular game,
Or do you think just this game?
I
Well,
will
I remember
say,
this was introduced during the run of the patch, early access coming to consoles. We thought it was a bad idea at the time.
I will say that they have recently patched it a little bit on the Xbox to slightly improve the frame rate. I think it's ambitious that they're trying to work it on 2 platforms now, maybe even 3. I don't know if it's on PS4 early access as well, but I'd rather them focus and get a really refined product, I think. But that's commentary on the developer, not necessarily on early access as a concept. But they're a smaller development team, so I would like them to really nail it down on one platform and then
Well,
work on getting it to another one.
Money will help that.
Money
right?
does help that.
Funding is a good way to get things to become better.
That's true. So I guess hopefully they saw a pretty decent boost in sales from going to that extra platform. But I hope it didn't turn people against them on that platform.
Is there
sure they
anything
did.
you hope goes away in 2017?
The patch. Too soon.
Done.
Yes, there's a mechanic that I noticed more this year that I am really sick of, and the Division is a big.
I like the Division. That was another game I liked this year. But
Well,
go ahead.
So there's one thing in the Division, and that has come up in a lot of games recently, is I'm tired of having to hold down buttons to do shit.
Oh, yeah.
Just let me hit X to pick something up. I don't want to go X. Okay, now I got it.
That implies also, if you have to hold down to hit X, that X has some other functionality as well.
Right.
And developers tend to overuse the same buttons again and again. I don't want X and Y to be every fucking thing, and then A's got one function and B's got one function. You know,
Yeah.
it just, especially the X button, people overuse it. It's like, oh, I meant to open the door, but instead I climbed up the side of the building.
I understand that there's a limited number of buttons and you have to apply them, and you want to use the easily accessible buttons more frequently, but yeah, no. And don't make me wait all the time. Don't add a layer of, over the course of me playing that game, I just would hate to see the statistic of how much time I wasted waiting for the button to decide that I'd pushed it.
Right.
Oh, I pushed it. Whoop. Okay, now I got it.
Right.
Stop it, developers. How about you? 2017?
Gosh, I don't know. I just want early access to be less of a thing. I want games to come out a little bit more polished. I think I think No Man's Sky is a victim of that. Where it's not that I call them a victim. Obviously, they were the architects of their own demise, but I just think that some games get a pass for it's early access and it's a build, and then other ones like Hitman. I mean, Hitman came out and it didn't have all the missions in it, and they were shipping the missions separately. So,
So
No
they were
Man's
pretty
Sky,
upfront about that. They were like, that's how it's going to come out.
right? And that's the thing with No Man's Sky. The impression is that people have is that they overpromised what they delivered on, and but there are people who say, oh, the update for No Man's Sky made the game a lot better. So, I mean, in some ways, I'd like to see the audience and the marketplace get a little bit more patient, but at the same time, I don't want developers to take advantage of that kind of stuff. I also want to see less $130 editions of games. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
And they're bundling in when you get like, hey, every game now comes with a season pass.
Yeah.
Which if you want to get it day one, it's like, all right, well, this turns a $60 game to a $90 game. But do you bank on not wanting that DLC or?
And I also feel kind of burned as a consumer sometimes because I don't know like how good those bonuses are going to be or how critical they're going to be to me in my gameplay experience. Like, oh, you'll get $500 of in-game cash. It's like, I don't know how much stuff costs in that game. So it's like, I don't know. It's like, does $500 of in-game cash mean I can blaze through the campaign, that much faster? Are we right at the end? Are those our last grains of sand?
Last grains of sand?
That's it.
I think
That's
it.
it. That's the end
Hourglass,
of the
you
patch.
served us
The
well.
metaphor.
Do you want to smash it? We already broke one. Did Gavin break that
Gavin
one?
broke one. It made it all the way through to the new office. I think it just finally got thrown away. He was going to make an appearance to throw something one last time at the set, but I guess he didn't.
He got
make
busy.
it.
He got
Things
busy.
happen.
That's fine.
It's a morning recording, so.
What
It
about you?
is.
2017, what do you want to go away?
I would like day one patches to not be. I would like it very much if games.
She just played Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Can you tell I'm a little bit sore about that one? I just feel like releasing a game and planning for it to not be finished and then be like, oh, but we'll make it playable with the day one patch because there are still people who use physical who don't have the internet, maybe they've got a total limit on their bandwidth or it's slow, and it just it completely ruins the experience. And I just wish that you finish your game.
Especially on the digital copy,
if
right? Why is there a day one patch for a digital?
That is
Right.
silly. That is really silly. Why is there a day one patch
Or
on
when
a
I buy it a
digital
week
game?
later, I've got to apply the patch for the digital version. It's like this. You should have updated the digital version to include this patch.
Yeah. So I would like the industry to sort of get its shit together on that front and either, I don't know, finish their games before they go gold and then have the stuff be minor things, not like we're taking it from unplayable to like, it's fine now. Or what?
Well, I was gonna say, well, is there a title you're looking forward to in 2017?
Horizon,
Oh yeah,
God of
Oh
War.
yeah.
Horizon being the shoot robots with bow and arrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've just come to terms with the fact I love any game that has a bow and arrow in it. I really
Yeah,
do. I
absolutely.
genuinely like games that have bow and arrow.
How'd you feel about Far Cry Primal?
Love it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Great game.
There's all kinds of bow and arrows.
Yeah.
There's like 3.
So many bows and arrows.
Got to find that flint and everything. Got to do the same thing in 7 Days to Die. There's a bow and arrow, and even going back to Gears of War, the torque bow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Use that thing constantly.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, that's gonna be so great.
I hope it is.
It's like I know already probably gonna be my game of the year.
I hope its multiplayer holds up.
Let's see what else. Kingdom Hearts 3. Just kidding.
No.
Oh, you said it's so salty too. But Last Guardian came out. You enjoyed Last Guardian.
I enjoyed Bird Dog Cat.
It was the best picture I ever
boy,
saw.
The boy can go fuck himself.
That
But that's
did
the
not
character
run
you
well
control.
on PS.
I know.
That's like saying I liked Inside, but I like the amorphous blob. No, I didn't like the kid because you're the kid most of the time. Yeah. And you just kind of do little stuff with the amorphous blob.
No, like if and
The heart
you know
wants
what?
what the heart wants.
I've got into this before. I'm not going to get into it again right now. But fuck that kid.
All right, fair play.
All right,
Fair
there you
play.
go.
What are you looking forward to? 2017.
Looking forward to. God, you said all the ones that jumped to the top of my mind.
You say Mass Effect? Is that in there?
I did not say Mass Effect.
No,
Add that one to the list.
Sure. All right. I still need to beat 3.
What's that?
I
You
still
haven't
need to
beat
beat
3?
3.
Oh,
No.
really?
Well, at this point, you realize you need to replay all 3 of them because you're going to be super confused what's going on.
I'm sure. No,
Wikipedia's your friend, buddy.
it's the same thing that happened with Firewatch. Like I got into the game late, and then everybody started going, the end of that game's like whatever. I'm like, all right, and then other things came up. So I'm like halfway through 3. Now it's backwards compatible though, so maybe I should finally go finish it.
Worth it.
I am looking forward to the new Assassin's Creed game, which will come with a peripheral that blows smoke in your face and shines a big bright light in your eyes the entire time you play.
It's like
Assassin's
J.J.
Creed
Abrams.
the movie, the
game.
the
The
movie.
game. Yeah, I'm hoping for a new year of better VR titles too.
Oh, dude,
I want.
is VR gonna make it?
Yeah, it's gonna drag for a
I
while,
think-
but it's gonna make it.
I think it may have to consolidate down a little bit. I don't know how many crazy different headsets the market can support right now.
Especially if they split the market by making titles exclusive or try to do that.
Yep.
And they have had, movement of doing that. I get development is a thing. They could develop on one platform, but like super hot going to Oculus and not being available yet at this moment on Vive, even though they say they're going to. It's just going to fragment the marketplace, and I think the VR headsets are going to be like Kinects and Wii's. They're going to be the most prolific piece of hardware that gathers dust in everybody's house.
It's a weird dynamic too, because on the one hand, competition breeds innovation. So it's nice to have multiple headsets. On the other, like, oh, what do I get? And then what games do I have to give up? And then like no one who's paying $800 for a peripheral wants to know that they're not getting everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the easiest, the most accessible, and the most comfortable by far is the Sony's solution, PlayStation VR. But it's also arguably the worst functioning. But
Well, it's largely on account of the Move controllers, right?
yeah, no, honestly, I played the Rogue One VR mission, and I had no problems with the head tracking anywhere in that. It worked fine. Like, it does a fairly decent job of keeping up with your head. This is where things go wrong.
It's actually a really beautiful headset too. Honestly, out of the 3, it's the best looking.
It's very pretty.
If that
It's-
sort of
it's
thing
bulky,
is important to you.
but its bulkiness belies its comfort.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't have been the last patch if we hadn't talked about
There we
VR.
go. We
So we
slipped it
really
in.
had to like bring that one
It's
in.
been the year of VR. We had to
But this
mention
is the end of the patch.
This is the end of the patch.
This
Good
is-
run, guys.
Good run for the patch. Thank
Good,
you guys.
Last time we'll
Absolutely.
see this set ever.
Yeah.
It might appear in some random stuff here or there, but the patch set you served us well.
Maybe we take it out to a field and just like beat on it like we
Torch
do
it,
in
maybe.
Office Space.
a big, huge pyre to say farewell.
Any
Yeah, what if
stats
we
you-
what if
This
we
is
put it in a
probably
Viking
majorly
ship?
toxic, right?
What's that? I would imagine burning this would create some pretty acrid smoke.
Yeah, we're probably not allowed to legally.
No.
Who was the most common host of the patch?
Gus.
Gus was. He had more episodes than anybody else. He
Yes,
couldn't make it for the last one.
absolutely.
But then you
Yeah,
guys,
he's out of town. He's traveling, so we had to slum it.
It happened. Thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who has watched the patch. over the years as we've done it. You know, it's always nice to have a place to talk about video games for the people in the company to come talk about things in the industry. And, you know, we know that these are very opinionated topics and people have very, very strong feelings about them. And it's always been great to have that conversation with the audience. And I think that who knows what the future brings as far as video game podcasts for Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, this has been a really fun podcast to do. It's nice to sit down for an hour every week and just chat about video games and what's going on and what we think about them. You know, we'll do our best to retool and put it together in a way that can be a successful production, you know, so that it can support itself in the future. But let us know, you know, what you love about the patch, what you'll miss about the patch, what we should try on the patch, or on whatever comes next that we didn't do on the patch, I guess, and we'll take all that into account when we talk about making more things where we talk about stuff.
Right. All right. Well, thank you to everyone that's watched, everyone that's supported. You've been a wonderful audience. We'll see you on the next iteration.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, let's burn it down.
All right.